Let me watch this video, all right? I want to pay attention, okay?
Kibler here.
Is this loud enough for you guys?
You know, we really got to stop meeting like this.
True, Kibler.
As I'm sure you are already very much aware, today I want to talk about kind of the current state of Hearthstone, specifically in the wake of the Lost City of Un'Goro expansion.
I'm going to just say something before I even watch this video. This is part of the React content that you're going to get here. I currently think this might be the worst Hearthstone expansion we have seen in terms of what it has done for the game. I don't think the flavor is necessarily bad. I think the quests kind of have a cool idea, but like in terms of what this game has done, it looks miserable. I launched Tice's stream this morning, and I think the man was playing literally 3 different decks that didn't run any new cards. The only one that ran a new card was like the Priest deck. But in the Zeddy reaction, he did go in the lack of thumbnails for Rumble. He was in disbelief at how they handle that. Bro, do not get me started on that, Pants. Do not get me started on that. I'm still molding on how they handle that whole situation. That is disgusting. Disgusting. You know what's even, Pants, now that you're on that, I'm gonna bring this up. Raffle told me about this and he's entirely right. Hold on. Hold. Give me a second. I gotta look it up. If you go, for those of you who are not aware, by the way, before we even get into this, because this is disgusting, okay? We did a bunch of videos for our channel for the Rarran's Rumble thing, and like normal human beings, we actually put thumbnails on our videos themselves. The Play Hearthstone channel, dude, imagine this. You are Blizzard Entertainment. You are paying for content creators to promote your game, and you have specifically agreed in the contract that we made to post games on your channel to post said expansion. They didn't even fucking make thumbnails, bro, for 3 of the games. On top of that, they all posted them at the exact same time. That is video suicide. Video suicide. On top of that, okay, on top of that, they didn't even post the entire stream that they made for Twitch. The dude who edited the video for Twitch did not post it on the Play Hearthstone YouTube channel. Bro, imagine paying for this as a company and going, fuck it. We don't need that shit. What the fuck? Bro, the worst part is, man, the worst part is they did a thumbnail for literally everything else. I'm not flaming the thumbnails for anyone, but bro, you're telling me we wouldn't get way more viewership if they fucking tried a little? They could have asked me, man. Anyways, I was mauling when I saw that, for the record. I was mauling. I can't get over that. I literally can't get over it. Regardless, I am not happy with it, so let's see what Killer has to say.
Which, not just in my opinion, but kind of
Taz, is the audio
broadly, seems to be one of the worst received expansions in Hearthstone's history. If you look at stuff like HS replay data, you see
you get commission from that. Let me explain real fast. I hired a contract, or I signed a contract as well as everyone else who did the Rarran's Rumble thing. So Raffle did, everyone else did, right? We got a contract, we got a 1 lump payment for everything that we did. We actually have no association for what Blizzard was going to do on their main channels. It is Blizzard's entire motive, whatever they want to do, prerogative, to actually work and post this content on their channel to promote their expansion on their main channel, whatever. Okay, whatever. So I got paid. Everyone got paid regardless. Now, someone else, Ninja asked, when's Rarran's Rumble 2 coming out? Here's the problem, bro. And this is the other part that really pisses me off. They have not rehired the best content, the community manager the game has ever seen, if not the best community manager I've ever seen in any video game. Ridiculous Hat is still not hired back on Blizzard, okay? Not back on Blizzard, which means I do not have a point of contact to know, A, if this actually was successful, B, if they want to do it again, C, how to plan it. I literally do not know where to go here. So if Blizzard wants to do this again, I guess we're going to have to figure it out. My expectations of doing this again is literally 0, for the record. You know, as long as they're making money on their stupid ass pet, whatever, man, it's fun.
Basically no quests that are seeing any kind of success outside of the Murloc quest, which is its own can of worms. And that basically,
what's happening? Well, Kilmer's going to explain to us.
The expansion has been.
If I only saw that thumbnail I recommended without having read the title, I would have been hella not click on the video. Okay, so like But you guys, this is a perfect example, right? Perfect example. You guys as viewers, as consumers of content would not click on that video because you need to get marketed to put in, or you need to get marketed to actually pull you into the video. And just imagine, guys, just imagine paying an editor, making them go through all that time, putting all this content into your brand new expansion that you are the ones making. This is first party advertisement that you hired creators from other games to hopefully bring more people into your game, and not even doing the bare fucking minimum. Oh,
incredibly minimal. There has been
volume good. Sorry.
Essentially 2 decks that have emerged from the expansion,
what's up?
Basically nothing else that really seems to be remotely compelling or competitive that people have really kept playing after the first couple of days. If they've kept playing at all. I personally played.
How many of you guys have stopped playing Hearthstone after this expansion? How many of you guys have stopped playing? I haven't played Standard since the last time I streamed it. But I mean, I'm a weird case because I don't play Hearthstone anyways. Before the set came out, I didn't play it for like 5 months. So I've never played Hearthstone. Okay, fair. What are you doing here, champ? I stopped way before. Okay. All right. Seems like people. Okay. Let me rephrase the question then, you sons of bitches. If you started playing during this expansion, did you stop playing now? If you've played Standard at the start of this expansion, have you stopped playing now, or are you still playing? Because the people are like, I don't play this game. It's not really helping, bro. I only do dailies. I'm close to. I only do the brawl for fun. Now ask how many lied. How many of you guys have me on your second monitor and you're jorking it to something else in your main? Don't lie. Don't lie. All right. I was going back into Hearthstone after a few months of not playing, but maybe I shouldn't now. I mean, it's not a great spot. All right, sorry.
Maybe like 7-ish hours in the first day, 4, maybe 5 hours the second and third day, and notably, this is my job. I stream this game in part
I work
for a
through
living, and I just kind of was over it pretty quickly. I wasn't really having very much fun. Very few of the new decks and cards felt like they had any meaningful chance to be successful. And I just really fundamentally wasn't really enjoying the state of the game. And I want to talk about a number of things in light of that. I talked last year in my sort of, State of Standard Hearthstone video
how come you look
about
so good in every
how
photo?
I saw not just like individual decisions as
like, I'm not
an
even
issue,
close.
because obviously like there can be development and design mistakes. What I have more importantly seen, and what I think this particular set and its kind of lack of success from a gameplay perspective is illustrative of, is kind of a lack of just direction for Hearthstone, like a lack of like a cohesive design direction for what's going on with the game. And we saw some of this last year when we had, for instance, a number of cards that were nerfed with respect to wanting to make big minions not feel so bad to play with, like starships, and they nerfed Yogg and they nerfed Reska, and then immediately released Bob, which was equally as bad, a neutral card, yada yada yada. And now we're seeing kind of a different part of that. Like, if we look at the 2 expansions this year, we have Emerald Dream,
Bob,
and we have Lost City of Ngoro.
By the way, if I'm not reacting as much as people want me to react, it's because I actually have to listen to what he's saying to kind of give an opinion. I know some of you might be like, Rand, you should react harder to this, and I will when I have an opportunity to say something that I can coherently form in my brain, okay? Thank you for listening.
Central mechanics in both of these sets, right? In the first set, in Emerald Dream, there was the imbue mechanic, and in Ngoro, there's the quest mechanic. And these 2 mechanics are some of the most dangerous design space in like all of Hearthstone. We've seen with cards like Gen and Baku, the danger of having decks that are defined by powerful, repeatable abilities like hero powers, or specifically exactly hero powers. Imbue is a bit different. It's like not a start of game thing, except for Druid, which is kind of its own can of worms. And then we have quests.
Chat, do you guys think that Imbue Druid specifically is as bad as like Gen and Baku was from the start of the game? What do you guys think? That's actually an interesting thought. I never actually thought of it like that. I feel like if it was in the game when Baku and Gen were, it was probably going to be as bad. But because the game is so like different now, it's probably not as. It's just like a little. I guess the argument to be made is like the reason why Gen and Baku was rotated early is because every game felt samey. So if Druid ends up being the best deck in the game, it kind of gets a little boring because you're going against the same thing. And I feel like that's what he's saying with like Imbue and Quest is like, you know what you're playing up against the second the game starts, right? Or the second they play their Imbue cards. Kind of the reason like Paladin's kind of lame, right? Because Paladin does the same thing every single game. That's why I play Battlegrounds. It's fair. It's fair.
Or another, like, you are guaranteed to have this. In the past, we have seen quests be either basically broken or just do nothing, right? And it's mostly been the experience with kind of both of these style of mechanics. So it's kind of baffling to me.
Has it always been that way?
That
the problem with this expansion is that every like, hold on. I think the best way of describing it is not even explaining it to you. It's just showing you. Hold on. And I think that Kibler's going to go over this based on what he's saying. But like, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. More than half your classes that got a brand new mechanic in your game, which are quests from Ngoro, which is a beloved keyword. Ngoro is fantastic. People were excited for this set, are literally the worst decks in standard. Quest Rogue has a 22% win rate currently. And the issue that Kibler's probably going to bring up in this video, I'm going to just guess, is that the problem with quests in general is the design is very spooky, because if a quest is too good, it's going to be commonly seen because you see it every single game, right? You know exactly what it is. If it's not good, those quests can't be played because there's no reason to build a deck for it. And that's like the design philosophy that makes quests extremely hard to build for. And like, it's really difficult to have a quest that's kind of just in the middle of the pack. So that's what I'm assuming he's going to go for. But a brand new set that the main keyword has this, that's tough, buddy. Now, we'll have to continue. We'll keep going. We'll keep going for our yap.
The decision we made from a design perspective to have these two types of mechanics, which are so fundamentally problematic, when they are good, be the sort of things you were having as the flagship mechanics of back-to-back new sets. That just seems like it's just so clearly a dangerous decision, because if you aim too high, it's really bad. If you
Hold on. So in 2017, we had quests. We had Frozen Throne. We had Kobolds of Catacombs. There was no like starting game effect through there. Then we had the Witchwood, which introduced Gen and Baku. So that was maybe somewhat of the issue. The year after, we had Savers of Uldum, which introduced Quest again for slightly different. Then we had Demon Hunter, which fuck Demon Hunter. I'm trying to think if we had anything after that year. We had the quest lines, and then we had Sunken City, Nathria, and what was the last expansion of that year? I can't even remember what it was. I don't remember what's the last expansion of that year? Nathria and what? I don't remember what the last one is. The year after, oh, March. Yeah, okay. So we got Death Knight. And then we had. Okay, I mean, so they took a little bit of a break through like quests and started game effects kind of until this year.
Too low, it's really bad. And you're kind of just ensuring that you have to like thread the needle with this like perfect game balance of both of these categories of mechanics, which again have proven repeatedly to be dangerous design space to play in.
What about Prince Malchezaar?
I think that the kind of quests that they made this time are a much healthier kind of quest than, say, the quests from the original Ngoro, or in particular the quests from Stormwind, which, you know, in many cases were a complete quest win game. And it was just, how difficult is it to complete my quest? And that is just not a particularly fun gameplay pattern. That is like a gameplay pattern which like is super linear and super repetitive, and you know, doesn't provide very many axes for interaction. You know, historically speaking, there can be, maybe based on the specific designs of the quest. Regardless, you know, now here we are with these quests which don't just win the game, but instead they're by and large just bad. And the reason they're bad isn't necessarily because like the design direction is bad. They exist in the context of the current state of Hearthstone, which has seen a lot of increases in power in order to keep up with what have been a number of very, very powerful cards that have been released over the past like year and a half or so. I actually was having a conversation on my stream with my chat and asking people, because I myself was quite frustrated, when they last felt like Hearthstone was like really good, right? Like what?
Chat, when's the last time you thought Hearthstone was really good? Be honest. When's the last time? You know my answer. Fuck Demon Hunter. Give me back. Go take me back. Yesterday. Can't remember. Can't remember. Sunken City was probably a good guess. What about Sunken City was so fun for you guys? I actually like Sunken City too. I thought it was a good set. It was definitely Sunken City gets a little bit of a little bit more of a pass though, because the prior year was so dog shit. Like that year was so bad. Colossus were fun. Yeah. Level just felt good. Yeah, I agree with that. Renathal was it for me. Yeah, Renathal was great. Yeah, I think Sunken City was like a pretty good, like it was a great year to, or a great expansion to kind of get people reinvested into the game after the prior year. I didn't like Sire sucking me off every game. That wasn't Sunken City. That was the expansion after. I just think, listen, you guys know my take on this. I think the game was infinitely better before Demon Hunter was added.
What was the last expansion where it was like, yeah, Hearthstone's in a great spot? And
even Descent of Dragon was fun.
I think that the general answer was something around like Journey Under the Ocean or whatever the hell it was. Like
Journey Under the Ocean.
Sunken City thing.
How can he not remember?
Voyage to the Sunken City, I think is what it was. But
no one cares, Rarran, right? And he wrote Cap after. Let me see. I'm kidding. I was gonna see your back.
And I think that we saw a number of sets like
You're on thin ice.
Titans was generally pretty cool. I didn't particularly like some of the gameplay of stuff like Sith Mage, but like I think Perils in Paradise like just was such an incredibly powerful set. And like look at the current top decks in Standard,
Perils
right? The current most successful and powerful decks in Standard are a bunch of like aggressive menagerie style decks, and like Brain Masseuse, for instance. Brain Masseuse is the highest statted one drop that has ever existed in the game, with a drawback that unless you are in like kind of an aggressive matchup will frequently not matter in any way. If you looked at like, a lot of like previous one drops that were extremely high quality, like a 2/3, and would have a drawback that was relevant to, hey, if your opponent killed it, this is like Overzealous Healer as well, another crazy statted one drop.
Dude, Overzealous Healer is actually such a stupid ass card.
Because you just, play a
1 mana 3/3.
It's usually free because it's something like Orbital Halo. But yeah, there's just incredibly high statted early game minions. I've had people, when I've argued this, say like, oh, there isn't really power creep. There's been like, if anything, a bunch of nerfs. But like, look at, for instance, Emerald Dream. Emerald Dream came out, and there was a huge wave of buffs shortly after Emerald Dream came out because Emerald Dream itself did not land and have a particularly like high impact. And I talked about the impact of like StarCraft being so incredibly like heavily juiced and overpowered to ensure that collab, that crossover, had a significant impact immediately upon hitting at the tail end of a very powerful format right before rotation. And then like basically every single card in that entire set was nerfed after that. And then there was another wave of nerfs to those. And frankly, I think there could still stand to be a number of nerfs to a number of those cards. Because so many things are sort of pushing like what the sort of, power level of the game is at. And like what turns you can like plan to be alive, right? I think that's one of the biggest issues with a lot of the quests, right? It's not even necessarily like how hard is it to complete these quests, like what is the immediate board impact of these quests, but for some of those that is a big deal, and like they're not even close, right? That's one of the things about like this expansion. It's not like we're seeing decks that are like kind of struggling. These decks are pretty universally just awful, like truly awful. And they want to live in a world that doesn't exist, right? The world in which a quest like the Rogue Quest, right? I think the Rogue Quest is actually super cool, and I'd love to live in a world where you could play a deck like that in
that reminder I gave this quest a B,
and it would be a reasonably competitive deck. You can do all sorts of cool, like, hey, I shuffle in academic espionage or agency espionage, whatever it is, all sorts of things that like lead to interesting gameplay that takes a while and is very like, controlly mid-rangey, but like you are pinched from multiple sides, right? Your like, kind of value grind of a hero power that's effectively drawing cards and putting minions into play is not nearly fast enough against the aggressive decks, isn't powerful enough against like Hydration Station, Ziliax control decks, and does nothing meaningful against OTK decks. I talked about
True.
this last year. You know, like I didn't think that there was an
The
easy,
real question
like,
is,
hey,
what will
nerf
make
these
HS great
5
again?
cards, 10 cards, 20.
Bring back hat, custom game format. We just play a different game. Let me finish this video, then we'll have a conversation.
And, you know, you'll be in a good spot. Because I think that we've seen just this kind of like power creep of Hearthstone over the past several years, you know, probably like past like 5 years even. We're seeing cards that were like good back in the day, and not even necessarily back way in the day, like classic, right? When people talk about power creep, they're usually talking about like stuff like, oh, you used to innervate out a Yeti and that was so good. And that's not the kind of power creep
That shit was fire.
I'm talking about the kind of power creep like Fiery Warx in the classic set, and I've never seen it played. That was a card that was like Fiery Winax. That was like such an incredibly powerful card in the early days of Hearthstone for like aggressive and mid-range and control decks. And now it's not remotely good enough for any deck. It can't kill a 1-drop, right? Brain Masseuse shrugs it off, and it's a 2-cost weapon. Similarly, it's like, you know, you're just playing like an aggressive deck.
When he says it like that, I'm upset.
Incredibly powerful and incredibly sticky minions with, again, things like Brain Masseuse, things like Battle Fiend, you know, got nerfed back in the release of Ashes Outland because it was so insanely good. And it came back with a buff. So, like, yeah, we're talking about these things just being so powerful, and the ability to compete with these kind of like fidgety style quests is just basically none. Only the Murloc quest, only the Paladin quest has like had any success among any of the quests, and that's basically because it's just an aggressive deck that, you know, continues to linearly scale, and even that is not competitive, you know, against like the best aggressive decks that existed prior to the set's release. And like saying, you know, oh, just buff the quests is not really going to solve your problem. No matter how fast you like start shuffling cards, you know, shuffling ninjas into your deck with the rogue quest, you're still just going to get OTK'd by Protoss Mage or the new wilting Shadow deck. Which, by the way, it's like, okay, here's like one of the only new decks that's come out of the format is, look, another OTK deck. And that compresses the metagame because you know, you're like, okay, well, how do I...
Orson quit HS again. Kibler announced the break. Coincidence? I don't think so. I actually watched yesterday. I was there. I watched Forsen get 12 wins in Arena.
What can I do to beat this? And it's like, well, for many decks, nothing. Like, good luck. You know, you can basically just continue to play like stack armor decks and you know, maybe try and play like a transform effect or something, which exists in like what, 1-2 classes right now. So yeah, it's really, it's not just a matter of, hey, the balance is a bit off. It's a matter of what are we even doing here? Like, what is the plan? And that's my biggest concern with Hearthstone for the past several years, is that there doesn't really seem to be a coherent plan. Like, what is your goal with...
Listen, I get what he's saying. I'm just gonna say something real fast, okay? Have you guys noticed, and this is my personal bias coming through, have you guys noticed ever since Demon Hunter came in the game, OTKs and lethality has gone insane, and therefore they never really recovered from it because they had to increase the game. Every other class had to match what Demon Hunter was doing, otherwise no other class was able to play the game. Coincidence? I don't think so. Demon Hunter was just shit.
The design of these sets was just like, hey, we think people liked Ngoro. We're gonna go back to Ngoro. Ngoro means
yes,
quest. So
we noticed we are old too.
The, you know, sort of reflection of maybe that like isn't a great idea right after doing Imbue.
Originally, because of how cool the Apprentice and Archmage combo looked, I slowly fell off after rotation. I didn't come back until Festival because your Tony Jailer was the first thing I played that made me feel something that was fun and cool. I now have been super in and out because no decks have that fun kind of game plan. Well, the thing is like the way they design cards now is they generally do packages. So like I think one of the reasons why Tony Jailer Druid deck was so interesting was because like it wasn't a package introduced to the game. But the thing is like as a player and as like from a competitive standpoint, if they don't land for their player base or they don't land in the metagame, it almost feels like all of the cards in the set are pointless. For most of the case, right? Like, which is kind of unfortunate because that means the set doesn't land for a lot of the classes in the game. Like the rogue quest is really interesting because it's like they have to print a decent density of cards so they feel like, or so it feels like you can actually use the quest that supports it. But in reality, it's like if the quest doesn't work out for you, then it's almost the entire package is just over. But then you get cards exactly like Low, which isn't, you don't need a package for Low. Low ends up just being a pretty disgusting card because it just slots into maybe one of the best archetypes you can make currently. So is the problem more like they have to kind of take a step back and say, like, we don't need to create packages the entire time. It's rather just make good, like, cool, interesting cards. Stop blaming Demon Hunter. Without Demon Hunter, you would have not won the 12-1 arena run. Bro, without Demon Hunter, I would be smiling. I wouldn't have to play arena.
Maybe you should at least.
But I will say, they still kind of forced archetypes before. Maybe not as heavily though. I'm just trying to think what the problem is, or what it is. Hey, I have a cat.
Split those up so it's not just like back-to-back sets. Probably shouldn't be in the same year. These are the style of mechanics that are so troubled, and it's like similarly, you know, there was a big wave of, like, you know, buffs and nerfs or whatever toward the end of last year into the beginning of this year, but I don't think it hit nearly enough, right? Like, and I talked about this, that I feel like there's just so many things that, like,
you need to ban the guy that says Demon Hunter is one of the best classes ever.
And again, I'm not comparing this to like classic Hearthstone. I think a lot of people feel like Hearthstone is at its best when most games involve like a good amount of like back and forth between both players. A variety of things have the possibility of happening, and it ends like sometime whatever. Depends, of course, on the styles of deck you're playing. And maybe there is a push that games are faster because people didn't want to play, like, you know, ridiculous, like, grindy dead man's hand control warrior mirrors or whatever. Those are admittedly horrible, but I still think that, like, having more games that, like, end super fast because one player's playing an insanely aggressive deck, or end in a single turn because one player's playing an OTK deck, and having more space for the sort of mid-range and, like, controlling styles of decks to have an opportunity to play the game, that's the place where these kind of quests feel like they can shine. If you're playing a bit of a slower game,
I gotta agree with that.
Quest like the Shaman quest, right, where it's like, okay, every minion you play gets.
I feel like Hearthstone severely lacks like attrition now. No, like I feel like control exists, but it's not like what control kind of used to be in Hearthstone. I feel like control was really fun to play back in the day because you ran your opponent out of resources, which isn't like a very commonly like thing. But I think having that in the game is kind of important. Attrition's kind of boring. I mean, it depends on your play style, right? Like, you don't need to play attrition, right? But I think it should still be available in the game. Because, like, not every deck has to be a lethality deck, right? Sometimes it's like attrition's literally in the game. If you're talking like Kill Jaden, though, like, I don't think that's necessarily true. Because, like, Kill Jaden's a card that just gives you endless value. It's not like a game. It's not like a thing that runs your opponent out of resources, which I guess Kill Jaden in a sense does. But I'm thinking, like, typically back in the day when attrition and like running your opponent out of resources is like, you both have 30 cards in your deck. You're basically forcing your opponent to go through every single card to try to win you or try to beat you. And if they don't, they lose, right? You could be like, I don't want attrition in my game because it's boring to play against. Just don't play it. And then if you lose the game, like by turn 8, just concede. You don't have to play the entire time, right? Like, I don't think control still exists. It's just not the typical, like, it's not what it used to be. Like, at least it's not entirely what it used to be. Cool Jaden is a cooler way to end the game than fatigue. And that's fair, right? But I feel like they should definitely have a playstyle that can inhabit like the attrition without something like Kill Jaden. Kill Jaden is a cool card, and I feel like it's not the worst problem that Hearthstone currently has by far, but I do miss the times where it's like, look at Paladin, for instance, right? Look at Paladin. Paladin's an aggro deck, and I feel like it never runs out of anything. Like, it always has a Murloc to play. It always keeps on going and going. Back in my day, when 1862... like, other than Warlock, no other aggro deck had infinite resources. Eventually, the control deck or the mid-range deck would turn the corner. But it doesn't feel like that's the case anymore. And maybe that causes a problem because now there's way less room for you to actually be a mid-range or control like attrition-based deck, right? Divine Favor existed. I mean, Divine Favor was a problematic card, but like it wasn't like broken throughout its entire time. But I also feel like Classic's not a perfect example of everything, right? There's a lot of stupid shit in Classic, but like I think I do miss like running my opponent out of resources. It was fun. Like it was a good time. Anyways, that's my take.
Right now it's like, well, maybe you get a chance to play one more minion and like, then you're dead.
If you look at Ashelon, right? Ashelon's a really good example of attrition, right? Ashelon is not a card you're gonna play for like insane tempo depending on what you got, but it's like you get an edge every single an extra point of value like in your deck every time you play a minion. And like every time you play a minion, you're like slowly grinding out your opponent, and it's cool and it's exciting for the person that's playing Spirit of the Mountain. But then the flip side of that is like if this quest becomes too good, then it's going to be frustrating to play against. That's like the thing he was talking about earlier, right? I get to edge. I become super delusion with the package approach. It feels like deck building doesn't really exist anymore. Now it feels like I just play the good decks because it's the only way to get wins. Yeah, but that kind of backpacks on what I'm saying about like the attrition playstyle, right? Like my favorite expansion in recent memory is Savers of Uldum. If you go look at the metagame for Savers of Uldum had a huge variety of play patterns, right? It was actually insane. Like it was super cool. Highlander existed, aggro existed, combo existed, mid-range existed, quests you could play them and not feel like a greedy other, or not go against them and feel dog shit other than the druid one, right? And it was fun as fuck, but you could also do a bunch of homebrews. Like I remember going to Dexter's channel and seeing like all these new fun decks he was coming up with, but it feels like it's impossible to do that because of there's not really the mid-range control decks that used to exist in Hearthstone to like to the same level it was playing at beforehand. Now a lot of decks turn on their lethality a lot more, or you hit a wall super quickly that you just can't get past. So it's interesting. Elysiana Banker, I mean, you're focusing on one particular metagame where they obviously made a like a design mistake, right? But you could like cherry pick stuff from every single set, right? Oh my god, Angora was so bad. The Quest Rogue was horrible. Oh my god, Kobolds of Catacombs was so bad. You guys remember Spiteful Summoner? That card was dog shit. Oh my god, you remember Goblins versus Gnomes with Implosion? That card fucking sucked. Oh my god, I hate that shit. You remember Classic with Conceal and Edwin? Wow, what a fun gaming experience. Like, yeah, you could cherry pick certain stuff, but overall, like, before Demon Hunter came out, there was a more diverse play pattern in decks. Like, I think that's just fair.
And like, how did that quest get released in the same set as the Paladin quest? The Paladin quest is play a bunch of linear, like, kindred minions, and they just constantly get more powerful. And the Shaman one is, hey, figure out a bunch of... Guys, I want to tell you something today, because I was recording with Voxy. I was asking Voxy, because I haven't spoken to her since we did the Rarran's Rumble thing. And I say to her, how did you find the quest, or how did you find the Rarran's Rumble thing? This is verbatim, by the way. This is what I'm going to say. She goes, oh, it was super fun. We really, we loved the Murloc deck. We thought it was broken. We thought it was super good. A Magic the Gathering player said to me, they thought the quest was broken. And you know what they did, chat? They buffed it. Different minion types that aren't necessarily meaningfully synergistic, play them, and then spend 5 mana on a 5/5 that has no immediate board impact, and then maybe you get like +3/+3, which is like the Paladin quest is like, oh, you just keep doing your thing. Also, adapts are kind of shitty. Keep getting better. And by the way, the Shaman quest is only things that you play, and the Paladin quest is everything you summon. So if your Reborns and Death Rattles, well, the quest isn't remotely broken. Get buffed. It's not about being broken, man. We got to remember that card game, Hearthstone specifically more than any other card game, is played by people who play this game for fun and casual. This is the most casual card game out of anyone that exists. Maybe other than Marvel Snap, maybe. So if I'm a low rank player and I want to play my fun deck and I want to play like my homebrew self-damage Warlock Murloc deck, and I go against the Quest Paladin deck, okay? Yeah, sure, Quest Paladin's not broken, but if I'm a player in a lower rank going against that consistently, I'm not having any fun, right? So 85% of the player base, because most people are less than platinum are probably fucking hating this expansion. Now, are you going to sit there and tell me that it's like not a good deck in High Legend? Sure, go for it, man. But that doesn't really represent what most of the players are saying. We can't only base
I'm under the idea that you can't only base buffs and nerfs based on the highest legend of players, because it's not a fair assumption that most players are going to feel the effect of the high legend players. The quest paladin deck may not be a broken deck, but for a lot of people it stops them from playing the game. And if the number one goal of Hearthstone is to make sure your players are having fun to as much as they possibly can, because this is a card game, I don't think the Murloc paladin deck's a great way of doing that. So like they kind of need to have like a middle ground of understanding, like, yeah, maybe this deck isn't broken, but it's not a great experience for a lot of players. And like, I think that's more than enough reason to nerf something. And like, take a step back and realize, like, hey, my player base that at lower ranks wants to play something more enjoyable and not go against the same deck. Like, dude, if I queue into the same deck 8 times, like if you're queuing in silver and you go against Murloc Paladin 90% of the time, you're probably not having a great experience. Like, that's just what it is, right? Just what it is. And I'm assuming most of the whales who play this game are probably not super high rank either, right? But I'm sure Blizzard understands that, right? Like, hopefully, it could be copium, but whatever. I think Demon Hunter is a tumor-ass symptom from a terrible new direction. Demon Hunter was the marker for the problem. That feels like nothing feels creative anymore. I'm doing a free-to-play again. Got so upset while making something new and fun. I just crafted Murloc Paladin and started winning games. Well, like, that's what we were kind of talking about earlier, right? Like, again, you're talking to the biggest hater of Demon Hunter in the entire world. I hate the class so much. But Demon Hunter was indicative of a huge problem because it forced every other class to get faster, and draw had to get better, and damage got better, right? And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad for the game, but because everything's more efficient, it does take out a lot of the jank stuff that you used to be able to do back in the day. Like, I feel like homebrewing now is not as common. Like, it's a lot harder to come up with something unique and fun and interesting. Well, I'm calling unique and fun, and like, it depends on who you are, but it's harder. It's a lot harder to do it. I think, like, and as someone who's played this game for 12 years, like, if you compare the game in Savers of Uldum to what it is now, like, there was so much more variety in Savers of Uldum. Like, it was crazy. And I'm not saying Savers of Uldum is necessarily like the best expansion in the world, but purely from a variety standpoint of what you can play and what you go up against, it felt like there was a ton of stuff for you to do. And that's not only from the decks that were playable, that's from just like a play pattern standpoint, right? And I went through that earlier in this video, of course, but like, there is a lot to look at in that expansion. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that like I know how to design a game. Most of us don't. Most of us are dog shit. Okay. Most of us are people who are reacting to what they are seeing rather than creating something out of thin air for a video game. And that is a difficult task. I'm not saying that these designers are like invulnerable to criticism, because that's not the case at all. But we have to remember, like, it's a lot easier to showcase a problem. It's a lot easier to discuss a problem and highlight a problem than come up with a good solution. But, you know, you reap what you sow, right? Anyways.
For the Paladin quest, not the Shaman quest, though, which requires so much more investment. They're doing the same fundamental thing, and one of them costs 1 million mana, one of them costs 1 mana, and is just has a higher ceiling, and it's mind-blowing. That, like, how
would you fix Demon Hunter?
I don't get it. I don't get, like, the thought process.
Take me to a time machine. We'll have a conversation.
And it's not just design, too, right? Like, it feels like everything is so disjointed at a number of levels within decision-making, you know, with the Hearthstone, like, team. Like, the fact that that Hat's contract did not get renewed. But he's, you know, been the absolute best person in that particular role in the past 10 years. I have worked with Blizzard in, you know, a variety of capacities. And then, like, you have social media posts going out when, like, the entire community is, like, up in arms about, like, how, you know...
Dude, honestly, he's making a good point here, man. Like, dude, what the fuck are these social posts that they're posting on Twitter? What are they doing? Dude, are these people, like fully unaware of what's happening in the game? Is the social team living under a rock? Like, are they crazy? Are you guys seeing what they've been posting? I'm sure you guys have, but for the people who are more casual who watch these videos, bro, look at this shit. Hold on. Like, we haven't even discussed the dinosaur thing yet, chat. But, like, are they mentally okay? Life and King Crush find a way. People are complaining about how stupid it is to add a gambling, to add gambling to Hearthstone to make the pet $160, and they're tweeting shit like this or this. We're excited to see the meta shifting each day and haven't seen it settle yet. Bro, you could just write, hey guys, we see the feedback you've been writing. We're going to work on a patch next week. What the fuck is this middle line here, dude? What is this? Who is like, what? That is insane to add, man. Also, where I think they deleted it, there was one for like Murloc Paladin, which was fucking hilarious. It's like literally straight delusion who is writing this. And I'm not trying to be like, respectfully, I'm trying to like, you know, be I usually try to see the other side of the perspective and understand why they're doing it, but this is just stupid. Like, it's fucking stupid. I imagine, like, I don't even the replies, right? Like, Zeddy's ratioing them. Everyone's probably like, what are you fucking guys talking about? Oh my god. Chat, can I ask you guys a legitimate question? Have any of you bought a pet? Have any of you guys bought the pet? Have any of you guys spent all the money to get a pet? Because, like, no, I'm free to play. IRL pets are cheaper. What is this one? Oh, yeah, here. Yeah, this one. Yeah, dude, most of your player base hates the fucking quest. I didn't claim the free spin. Skull, that's actually insane. Good job. Yeah, most of you, none of you have. I wouldn't be surprised if they were AI posts. Regular people don't type. I mean, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true, but what does it make you, okay, like, be honest with me, right? Does it make you feel better that this is an AI post, or does it make you feel better that this is a real human being? Because if that's the two options, that's pretty rough. Like, that's horrible if that's the two options. Like, if that's a human being, that's horrible. And if that's AI doing this, that's also horrible. There's no right answer here, man. So at least if it's a human, yeah, someone's getting paid, but holy fuck, man. Like, maybe we need some more critical thinking skills in our Hearthstone social posting. Like, that's mental, man. And like, I guarantee you, man, I was talking earlier, these are probably the same people who didn't post the fucking thumbnail in the videos we made for them. So I don't know. Anyways, let's continue. Crazy,
Trading the Murloc quest is, and they're like, check out the Murloc quest. Isn't it cool? It's like, what are we doing here? Like,
exactly. What are we doing? Like, it's so crazy.
Anyone paying attention to anything that's happening in the community, right? Like, how is any of this going on? And, you know, similarly, like the pet, right? Like, I think the pet, King Crush, the pet is really cool. It's insane that the first pet that you introduce into the game is gated behind this horrible gacha mechanic that costs like $160.
So true, dude. Guys, you know what pisses me off more about this? And like, I'm sure you guys are fully aware, but for people who do not know, they decided to not make a brand new board for this year. Okay, they got rid of it last year. They didn't make one for Perils in Paradise. They didn't make one for the Great Dark Beyond. Okay, they didn't make one. You guys know why? Like, this is not guaranteed, or this is not like proven, but you know why they didn't make a new board is because they wanted people to buy these pets, which is fine, right? I don't think the pet as an idea is a horrible concept. The horrible concept behind it is, why the fuck is it $160 US? Why did you put it behind a mechanic? Or why did you put it behind a gambling mechanic? Why the fuck do you guys not understand that people would be more than happy to buy a pet if it was $50? Like, what are we fucking thinking? Bro, you guys made a cinematic for a pet that no one gives a shit about, but you couldn't make one for your actual expansions, the things that actually give you a lot more. Confused. Is it impossible to get the pet unless you spend all the money for the spins? It's not impossible, but it's a 1 in 1,000 chance to actually get it before you spend all the money. Didn't they say that the board would change throughout the year? I've not seen it. Dude, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. Like, and I'm praying to God, and this is somebody who like, you guys have to understand my perspective and Kibler's perspective and all these Hearthstone content creators, man. We want the game to succeed. Okay, I'm not sitting here praying on Hearthstone's downfall my entire life. I'm not, because it's mutually beneficial if Hearthstone is in a better spot. I get more viewership, I get to make more content, and therefore we get a nice mutual beneficial agreement that allows both of us to succeed. But I'm hoping this fucking pet dies. I'm praying to God it did so poor that they never do it again. I'm hoping that they look at this and go, okay, you know what? Like, let's do it better this time. And it's fucking miserable, bro. It's miserable.
Welcome to
and this is you're talking like I'm
cycle.
speaking from somebody who is literally the most viewed Hearthstone YouTuber currently. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Psycho, thanks for the sub, bro. The death of Hearthstone brings me happiness. Dude, I don't want the game to die. Okay? I don't want the game to die. But like their recent decisions have been absolutely fucking baffling. Like baffling. I can't believe what I see on a day-to-day basis. You are a content creator. HS isn't be end all. Or it can't be. Okay. But here's the thing, Psycho. Okay. I am arguably one of the few people, I think, that currently, if I had to stop streaming Hearthstone, I would survive. I think I've built enough of an audience where I can kind of mitigate the problem as much as possible to continue doing this. There are tons of Hearthstone players that probably wouldn't have any viewership if they left Hearthstone, right? So all those people who put their hope into a game, it's miserable for them. It's miserable. And like you don't no Hearthstone content creator wants to sit here and be like, what the fuck? Like what is happening? Why are they making these dumbass decisions? And dude, the worst part is, man, Hat's gone. And I know you guys saw Hat from like a consumer standpoint. I'm sure a lot of you guys were aware of how great he was, bro. He was amazing as someone to just speak to kind of, you know, go through your thoughts on why is this bad or why is this good from just a behind the scenes standpoint, man. And now it's like, we don't even know what's going on. Like there's no communication. And like, I'm sure they don't care. On top of that, bro, Tyler, whatever the fuck his name is, the new game director, he doesn't give a single shit because he was hired to make money and he doesn't have social media. Like he doesn't care. Like he does not care. Like, and if I'm Microsoft and I hired this game director to make this game as much money as possible, like then he's doing his job, which is even worse for us.
Actually be guaranteed to get it. If I were making this pet mechanic in this game, if I were in charge of these things, like make a basic pet that people can just kind of have that doesn't necessarily have all the cool bells and whistles. So people are like, cool, the pet mechanic's here. Yay, we get pets now. And then introduce the expensive, harder to get thing. It's like, now you have FOMO. You have this little one, but you want the cooler one, right?
Exactly.
Don't just make it like, hey, here's this cool new thing. You can only get it for hundreds of dollars. Like, it's mind-blowing that, like,
exactly.
You have this monetization mechanic being put into this game, and, like, you're
so
like,
depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, as a content creator, I feel like this game is iffy for like 4 years. Control right now is just infinite value. Aggro doesn't run out of resources. It's not a balance issue. It's just philosophy and identity of classes like that. And that's fair, right? That's fair. But we have to remember that as like people who go on Reddit and people who go on Twitch and people who go on YouTube are like the vocal like minority of this game, right? You are more invested than the average person that probably plays this game. The average person who plays this game probably plays like 2 games a day, 3 games a day. They do it on the train, they do it on the bus, whatever, right? Or they play a couple of Battlegrounds games at the end of the night. They don't care because they're not focusing on playing like too much games where they see maybe the bigger problems. They kind of just play their game and they move on, right? So like if that's the majority of the players and they're not complaining and they're still playing the game, you got to remember, bro, we're just fucking numbers to this company. We're numbers. We're literally just numbers to this company. They do not care. And if they're losing maybe 1% of their players, but they made fucking $3 billion from this dinosaur, they don't care. They don't care. They make money. Who gives a shit? I hate saying it, but like as a company, I don't really blame them because if I'm making a huge profit at the cost of 1% of my player base, who gives a fuck, right? Like if I'm Microsoft, I'm sitting there like, okay. Casuals will never buy the pet. Who is it for then? You don't know that though. Right? If I'm like a brand new player, if I'm a player who plays this game and I really like cosmetics, right? And I don't care about the greater Reddit phenomenon that's happening in the zeitgeist of what's happening in the Hearthstone community, I do not care. If I wanted the pet, even if I think the gambling thing is like not great, maybe a couple of people are turned off from it. They're probably making enough money that it's completely fine, bro. Like it doesn't matter. We literally do not know how much the dinosaur affects the average player base, right? And that's the problem, man, is like, because it's so expensive, it doesn't matter if like 5% of the player base is buying it because they're selling it at a fucking crazy amount here, man. It's insane. Like, it's actually insane. Would you buy the pet for $30? Yeah, I absolutely would. I absolutely would. $30, no problem. I'd buy it for $50, man. I would rather have it in the store to buy it than what they did. Again, I talked about it in a different stream. Like, I went to school for this. I understand the psychology of what they're doing. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. The psychology of it is horrible. But if the intention is to make money and that's what they hired the game director to do, then Microsoft is not going to care. They're not going to care. If they, remember chat, remember this, and I'm saying this as someone who wants this game to succeed. They only change things because they're losing profits. I'm just saying.
Hey, King Crush is awesome. It's like everyone's just mad that they can't get their King Crush because you gated it in this incredibly bizarre and predatory gotcha thing. Like, I don't have solutions to the metagame issues, right? Like I said last year, it's the same thing. It's so systemic. It's so like deeply rooted. Like, I feel like you'd have to do such an enormous pass on like bringing the power level of a lot of things down before like anything like
you keep losing, then what? Okay, but remember, like,
and a lot of
we don't know how China feels about this. We do not know how the casual player base feels about this. You guys don't think they're making enough money to support Hearthstone. If Hearthstone was a horse that was not making profit, they wouldn't make more cards. But Hearthstone is clearly doing really well after the China thing. You know, yeah, that's screen music.
Like, just buff things. You know, don't nerf everything, just buff things. And there's a few problems with that. One, when you buff things in a game where you have a static life total, if you like keep buffing minions, then you just get people dying faster when they're trying to do anything that isn't directly interacting with the board at all times, like a lot of what these quests are asking you to do.
Yes, Falcon, right? I have, and I should have it as well, but my visa didn't get approved.
That's how you get the Imbue Priest problem. The buff to Imbue Priest ruined the Imbue Priest mechanic, in my opinion. I thought Imbue Priest was a cool, like, way to build like a mid-range controlling style of deck that, like, you know, had this ability to generate resource advantage over turns by like using this hero power after building up to like getting these discounts and everything. And obviously, by making the card that you get from the hero power something you're always able to cast, yes, that makes the mechanic better. It makes it more powerful. But it also just makes it a card you put into an aggressive priest deck, right? Like, you transformed what I think was a cool and fun incremental advantage mechanic for a deck that invested in it and turned it into, well, I play these 2-drops that give me the imbue mechanic in my aggro deck,
what
and now I never
you get
run
a few
out of
years
resources. And that sucks. That's just like turning it into something complete.
I will say, just for the sake of argument, that even in classic Hearthstone, there were times where you kind of just lost the game on turn 4 or turn 5, right? There are in Nax Rammus, even though you didn't technically lose the game on turn 1, if they had an Undertaker and you didn't kill it, the game was over. Like, indirectly, the game was over on turn 1. So it's not like people lose games on turn 4, turn 5, like only now. Like, it happened earlier, right? The difference is now is that I feel like every deck kind of plays the exact same way. Someone was talking about like how there's like the lack of class identity. It kind of feels like that. Like, a lot of the classes do, like, they have their own cards, but they kind of all play the exact same way in a sense. Can they do what they did back in the day for Ganabaka, give a bunch of dust back and reset the standard rotation to a lower PAL level? I'm looking at this PlayerUnknown as a company. I mean, they could, but then you're causing a problem of like, hey, I bought all these cards and you're rotating them early. Like, Blizzard's gonna be like, well, we're not gonna refund you. We're just gonna give you a bunch of dust, and that feels kind of shitty. Now, Blizzard will also have to realize, like, that's kind of not a great deal for the card. I mean, they already bought the cards, so maybe that's fine, but they'll probably never do it. Arguably, what they should do is it'd be interesting to see what would happen if they rotated like Whizbang out early and they rotated Perils out early and just kind of started fresh this year. But like, I don't know if that necessarily solves the problem, right? You guys gotta remember too, like, we had the pre-release Tavern Brawl for this set and it was kind of dog shit too. Like, I actually hated it. It was miserable, but that's also because the Paladin deck was too good, which was indicative to how good the Angora was going to be with this new set, right? So, I don't know. Do you think the solution is just Hearthstone 2? I mean, I don't know if that's going to solve the problem. The Hearthstone 2 only makes sense if they're going back to like what Classic was, right? But we'll see what happens. I argue fanatics are more important than just the 5% player base of whatever. They're likely the first contact new players make. If you have negatives, they'll hurt. Yeah, but how many casual... Okay. Chat, let me ask you guys a question. How long does it take for you to play a game before you go look up a YouTube video? And I'm not talking like... Well, okay, no, we'll go with that. We'll keep it as vague as possible. Because me personally, I'm not looking up videos for a while. Like unless I get stuck or I want to figure out something or I want to have like maybe a tutorial about like what classes I need to build in Call of Duty or some shit, right? Like I don't go look up a video immediately. I usually have like a really good brief period because I want to enjoy the game myself. So, and I feel like a lot of people are like that with me, where it's like, you probably play a game for a bit and then you go, look, I'll give you an example, like Clash Royale, for example, right? When I first started playing Clash Royale, I didn't look up decks. I just kind of played the game until I was like, you know what? Like, I'm kind of bad at this. I'm going to look up a deck. But that was like way into the future of when I actually initially installed the game for the first time, right? And the problem with Hearthstone, it reminds me of the state of Runeterra just before they cut the PvP. By the time they released the second part of the set, you would queue into 2 to 3 decks every game. So they're just theory crafting went down. No, but the problem is, man, the problem with Runeterra was they weren't making money. Hearthstone makes money. Hearthstone is a very successful game. And it still is a successful game as much as we want to complain that it's not. I find the second you start looking at YouTube videos, you're on a clock to start hating the game. Depends. It depends. I'll give you an example. I remember when I didn't look up a YouTube video, but I looked up like a Wikipedia maybe for Stardew Valley. And I didn't get tired of Stardew Valley because I looked it up. I looked it up because I just wanted to see how to actually do it. But I can see what you're saying. And this is kind of what happened with League of Legends with me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to relate to this. You start playing a game, it's really fun because you're discovering things. You're doing something for the very first time, right? It's an extremely enjoyable like way of introducing somebody to a game because they're like, holy shit, like all this new stuff is so fun and exciting. Once you get past discovery, then you get to the min-max. Once you get to the min-max, that's when the true blemishes of your game come out. Because like in League, right, it's no longer like, oh my god, what does this champion do? It's like, I fucking hate that champion. And then we move on.
Different and in my opinion, way less fun because you've removed any need to actually build your deck toward this at all. You just play a 3-2 for 2 and a 2-3 for 2, and boom, great. You can just get endless acupunctures or whatever. That's the problem, right? Like when you just look at everything and say like, well,
like
we need
threatening,
to bring,
by the way, is this here to rage bait? Am I wrong?
these things up to the power level of the other things. You just run into that like issue of, well, now you're just making things and turning them into something else, and you are just compressing, like if you're just making, again, like the minions better, and you have to make the right things better too. Even if you are making things better, it's not just like, hey, make something like the imbue priest, right? I think that was the wrong way to go about it. I would have rather attacked it by making it such that a deck like imbue priest in its previous form could reasonably hope to be competitive. The biggest issue, and I say this is one of perhaps the most seasoned imbue priest players on the planet, the problem was you just kept getting OTK'd. It wasn't that you couldn't compete with the aggressive decks, it wasn't that you couldn't compete with like the control decks or whatever, it was that you just would die in one turn. And now it's like, okay, well, we haven't meaningfully changed, like, we got rid of, like, it's been so long since I've seen it, since the Time Walk Priest. Whatever was that? I don't remember. Like I said, it's been a while. And like, I literally didn't play Hearthstone for the month of June because after, the various changes, obviously I was super busy in June anyway with like MagicCon and travel and a variety of other things. But I literally did not play a game of standard Hearthstone in June. Because it was just
I didn't either.
Like, boring metagame.
Have you ever seen me and Kibler in the same room?
And now it's still that same boring metagame, basically. Like I said, I'm blanking on the name of it still. I still don't remember. Zurimi, that's what it is. Zurimi Priest. Zurimi Priest is gone, but Protoss Mage is still around. And like, similarly, like, if you nerf, like, let's say you're like, okay, Menagerie Priest and Death Knight and whatever, all these aggressive decks, they're too good, we're gonna nerf them. And now the quest decks can be competitive. It's like, okay, well, now they just lose to Protoss Mage.
You're not aging as gracefully as Kibler. That's it. I'm banning it. Even when you already know shit about games can be fun, CS is kind of the same for 6 years. I'm not going to disagree with you at all there, Torpedo. Again, you have to remember that like people will like stuff. People will like stuff, right? And that's completely fine. But it's hard to argue that CS may be not as fun as it was. No, I won't argue this, but you could argue that CSGO or CS, whenever you started playing Counter-Strike, was more enjoyable when you were in the discovery phase than you currently are now. But maybe it's scratching a different itch, right? And that's why Counter-Strike has been so successful for so many years. Because like rather than going through the fun and discovery phase of CSGO, now you're on that itch of like, oh, when I kill someone and I hit that nice snipe with my op, I'm like, beautiful, right? And that's what it was for Modern Warfare 2, right? Modern Warfare 2, when that game came out in 2008 or whatever, right? Like when you first get all the guns, it's like, oh yeah, it's so fun. Like I love getting the new gun. It's so fun. What's this gun do, right? But then you start getting into the quick shot phase, or you get into the noob tube phase if you're one of those degenerates that I hope they stub their toe on a daily basis, right? Like, but there's a ton of different ways to play in your play style, and it made it more enjoyable, right? Card games are tough because card games inherently are dictated by what is the most powerful card in the game. So it's harder to get to that point where like card games will be more enjoyable.
Now they just lose to wilting shadow, whatever. You just keep moving the goalposts. It's just that fundamentally a style of deck that is looking to do what most of the quests do, which again, I wish was what was good in Hearthstone.
I haven't cared about what Kibler has to say since he shunned my boy Rarran on Collaborate.
Don't not competitive in the current environment that Hearthstone exists in now. And I think you need to do such a don't do that. Systemic shift in terms of what the cards that are currently around do, and the cards that you're making, right? Like making cards like the wilting shadow, whatever the hell that card is, and then also making like resuscitate to go with careless crafter, like that gives you more bandages. So like now it's actually very easy to kill someone in one turn on, like,
do you guys want me to
7.
make my own video going through my feelings and basically what it's like for me? Because like I literally don't know what I add to the conversation, bro. I don't know what I add. Like, I feel like for me, it's going to be like, guys, I don't play standard at all. This expansion didn't save that for me. So I'm going to go back to doing my dumb shit. Like that would be my, I'm not making that video, chat. I'm not making that video until I decide whether or not I want to continue making Hearthstone, like, for most of my content. That's what it comes down to for me. Could you do that video without your shirt on? No. Yo, Mass, thanks for the sub, bro. I appreciate it.
Or 8 with that deck. Like, what are we doing here? We're just making more things.
Your feelings are always in the more Rarran sandwich between an elastical discussion and the coyote memes.
Make the kind of decks that you're making, like with your major
what superhero has the best chance of giving birth?
Unplayable.
Here's a slideshow.
Figure it out. Like, have a plan. You just need to actually have some sort of directive of what should the game of Hearthstone
I'm not
look
gonna lie.
And it just seems like there.
At least your voice will be heard by Blizzard.
That is my
bro. I literally, Kate, listen. If my intention of doing a video is to kind of get Blizzard to react to what I am saying, do you guys think that would legitimately work? I made a full fucking video talking about how they ruined Twist. Has Twist come back? No, they don't give a fuck. Fucking, they're all. What's that guy's name? What's the duck's name from? What is it? Not Looney Tunes, Mickey Mouse, and he like dives into the gold. That's like, they don't care. Scrooge, yeah, Scrooge McDuck. Like, they don't give a single fuck. They don't care. They're making money, bro. That's all that matters.
Biggest concern. It's not like, oh, the quests weren't good when they released them. The imbue wasn't good. This card is too good. No, it's that there does not seem to be a coherent and consistent vision for what the game of Hearthstone ought to look like. And it just kind of is this moving target playing whack-a-mole with whatever deck is like doing well now and whatever deck people are complaining about, right? I've seen people say like, oh, you don't need to nerf Murloc Paladin because these other decks beat it. And it's like, well, just because like these decks, which are pretty clearly too good, beat this deck, which I think is also pretty clearly too good, doesn't mean that the second deck is not too good. Like, you are crowding out so much of the possible decks in the game if you kind of go in with, well, this deck is okay because the most powerful decks beat it. It's so much more fun if you have more options of the kind of styles of decks that you can play, and don't just feel like you're an idiot or you're embarrassed because you wanted to play something that wasn't just like hyper linear and focused. So anyway, that's where I'm at, which is like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I have very seriously been considering taking an extended break from Hearthstone, because I don't see,
I have to.
and I talked about this last year, right? Like, there was no clear light at the end of the tunnel, right? It's not like if they just do this, it'll be better. And yeah, I kind of took a break almost unintentionally in June. I was like, okay, we'll try the new expansion. And the new expansion sucks. So maybe it's time. Maybe it's time that I take a bit of an extended break from Hearthstone, and maybe, you know, explore some other stuff, both on stream and maybe here on YouTube. You know, maybe we'll do some Magic stuff. Maybe we'll do something else. I don't know. But what I do know is that they really need to do some major changes, not just, again, in terms of like a few cards, but in terms of like actually having a vision for what the game of Hearthstone ought to be like, because that, I think, is very clearly missing from so many of the design and development decisions that have been made with regards to Hearthstone in the past several years. Anyway, that was mostly a rant, I think. But I think
that's what most people do,
Hearthstone
bro.
deserves a rant right now.
You know it's screwed if Kibler quits.
So yeah, I hope this is at least interesting, entertaining.
I think it's more of an eye opener than screwed, but I don't think they care. I really don't think you guys understand. Like, they do not
change
shit
for Hearthstone to be, you know, in a place where it can kind of relive its glory days again. Because we're not there. We're so far from there. But who knows? Maybe we'll be back. But maybe I won't be here.
So,
who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching.
I mean, overall, good video. I think his take was fine. Be interested in your thoughts on the cycle of high points of being excited for spoilers into the lows of actually playing, realizing either's didn't change or further deteriorating. I mean, for me, I'm a completely different. I think Kibler is a completely different perspective than majority of players. I think I'm a completely different perspective than majority of players, right? I go into an expansion knowing I'm not going to like the game, but my problem with Hearthstone, more than anything else, is I'm burnt out, right? I am exhausted of this game. Not to say that it's completely dog shit, but when I go into Hearthstone, I don't get the same enjoyment as I used to because I'm exhausted, right? Like, and Kibler's I'm not going to speak for Kibler here, but I would imagine that a lot of what he's feeling is also because he is burnt out of the game, right? And the hardest part for Hearthstone is coming up with concepts that keep the players engaged, as well as getting new players. But there's only so much they can do to get me excited for the game again, right? Like, and that's unfortunate because, again, it's my job. It's actually good for me to be excited about your game. So my perspective would be like, I don't look forward to playing the game because for me, it feels the exact same way every single time. So that's pretty much this. Didn't Kibler make the same video for the most part about Pearls? I think his last video was a little bit more nuanced on what was happening with the game and the context around Perils. This one seems to be more about a year later, about the direction of what is happening and how he feels about that. Problem is we won't have major changes until they start losing players and money. When was the last time you had fun? I mean, like, I had fun doing the Rarran's Rumble thing, right? Like, that's not realistic. Like, if you're asking me when's the last time I was excited to play Hearthstone like off stream, it's been years, man. I don't remember. I think the last time I was excited by Hearthstone off stream was like when Grandmasters was a thing, when they did like the weekly like tournament stuff. So for me, it's been a while. For me, it's been make a podcast with the HS boys and rant about the game. What do you mean? I don't know. All I'm saying is, man, is like, I feel like a lot of content creators at this point in time are exhausted. Like it's just, I have no animosity towards the Hearthstone team whatsoever. And I don't think they're designing the game for me at this point, which is fine. What if they introduce a new twist mode that only the even cards from the latest two sets? Would that wet your whistle? No, that sounds so bad. What will be your next game? I don't have a next game. If I learned anything from doing this for this long at this point, is I wouldn't want to just set myself into one particular game. You know what I mean? What did Ace say? Forsen disguised toast a Maz Benbro hat Kibler who's next? What kind of question is that, bro? Do I look at like I could tell the future? What do you mean, bro? to balance a game mode with changing rules that create wacky and stupid games for a short period of time. What happened to Bazaar? They made a very dumb decision when it came to monetization, and that affected their reputation, and it affected the players who were playing the game, and it took too long for them to reverse what they did. But even when they reversed what they did, the damage is already done. You only get one shot at your first impression, and unfortunately it did not work out the way that they probably hoped it was. Not to say the Bazaar is a bad game, and I still think it's still one of the best games I played recently. It's just that change to open beta was probably one of the nails in the coffin for the game, unfortunately. So they never got the chance to, well, not the chance, but, you know. And I think when Northern Lions stopped playing the game, I think that was like a really big deal, because he was probably the main person bringing more casual players into its like line of sight. So that's unfortunate. Now, I'm not gonna say the Bazaar's cooked, because it depends on what they want to do for their future. I think bringing it to Steam would be a really smart decision at this point, but we'll see what they end up doing. Anyways, that's my opinion on this. Chat, was this fun to watch? I don't fucking know. I don't know. I thought this would be interesting this way. It's tough, man. I hope, I will say this, by the way, like, I feel like, if you believe what Kibler is saying and you trust his opinion and you feel like what he said has a lot of, validation towards you, like, go support him. Go watch his stream. Like, if he's playing, I guarantee you right now, hold on. I guarantee you right now, if I go to Twitch, he is probably playing Magic the Gathering. If I had to take a guess, let me like take a peek here. Yeah, right. Like, he's playing Magic the Gathering. So if you want to go support him in his and what he has to say about Hearthstone, you want, if anything, right? Like, if you want to make a bigger impact into Hearthstone, like, you have to kind of not just be a word Andy. You have to actually do shit. So, any nerfs today, or do we have to wait another 2? I have no idea, bro. I don't know. I have no idea. The gaming industry is burning. Dude, what is with these fucking, like, dude, you guys remember when we thought Microsoft was going to save this game?